for coming and joining me today. We're going to get started here in just a moment. If you'd like to partake, come and sit down here, put on some headphones. That'll both insulate you from the noise outside and make sure you can hear my dulcet tones that much more clearly. We'll give you just a second to come on in, enjoy our conversation here. Thank you again. I noticed they have little stuffed plushy pagers. We were talking earlier. How many of you have seen a pager in real life? This is an age question for a lot of the audience. Have you carried a pager? Have you been on an ops team carrying a pager? I have carried a pager on an ops team who's been paged on a Saturday night. Yeah, that's a ton of fun. Hi everyone, my name is Joel, I'm from Glean. I'm going to talk a little bit about super intelligent enterprise, which is a buzzword that you probably shouldn't care too much about. Glean doesn't really make a super intelligent enterprise, but I think we're all trying to build intelligence into our businesses so that we can do business in a smarter, more efficient way, and AI is helping us get there. So let me share a little bit about Glean to start, and then we'll share a little bit about what we're doing with PagerDuty, and then I can take any questions you might have here or over at our shiny green booth, which is right over there. Just look for the giant hanging Glean sign. Right, so to get started, this is my beautiful face. You don't care, but let's talk a little bit about Glean. I think the important thing is here that we are trusted by a lot of very large companies as their AI platform of choice, both as an assistant, a search platform, and as an agent platform to drive their business forward. What do we mean when we're talking about this? So, look, if we're going to be an intelligent enterprise, we need access to data. And historically, we've been working with big data, we've been working with data analytics, and that is a hugely important part of being smarter as a business, but it's not sufficient. Because what we do in data analytics requires a lot of technical skill, and it has meant that much of the analytics that we need is out of reach of people who don't speak SQL natively, can't use SQL, or don't have access to the right dashboards. And even when they do, we recognize that the data that is available there is only a subset of what makes your business go. It doesn't include the relationships between people and how they work, and products, and how you might be working between the components as you build product, how your customers interact, how your processes operate. How do you do things like supply chain process? That's not included in a data structure, right? And how do all your projects work together? To really understand your business is the first step of an AI being able to give you the right answers so that you can actually take actions that need to be taken or automate those actions when necessary. So what is really important, and I think is the takeaway here, is that context wins everything. If you can get a full view of the enterprise context and feed that intelligently into an AI, you can get the answers you want back. And that is an indexing question, a graphing question, but it is also a search question. AI, LLMs, take in tokens. They take in information, process them, and give you a result. They are far more efficient if you give them the appropriate and correct, most relevant tokens. And those tokens are not just things that come from straight data. The pre-processing of data before you feed it into an LLM is directly correlated to the accuracy that comes out. So Glean really does that enterprise context layer, but we do two other really important things in our platform. One is Glean Protect, and so this is making sure that we're permissions aware before it's fed into the LLM. If I ask a question of Glean, it only responds with an LLM response that is built on information I have access to. If I do not have permissions to access that data, it does not get fed to the LLM and it is not part of my response. And across the hundreds of systems we're connected into, we're able to reconcile all of their permissioning systems so that I really only have access to what I should have access to. The other thing we have built in is an agentic reasoning component, our agents platform, so that you can build smarter systems using AI as agents and call them from wherever you need it. And last but not least, along the top here, you can see how you consume these things. We make a best-in-class assistant. We also make a best-in-class agent platform, so you can build and deploy and use agents. And we're connected via APIs or MCP into other systems. And we're going to talk a little bit about that here in the context of PagerDuty, because that is how we work with PagerDuty. let's dive in a little bit more. So, incident response. I asked for hands, but more people have joined. How many people have carried a pager before? Yeah, okay, good. And have you been paged on a Saturday? I just wonder, because we have little stuffed pagers here, and I think if you're under 20, you have no idea what that is. Like what right? Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about this. So today, as you can see, like, we know if you're managing systems, you're managing infrastructure, you're managing it on-prem and in the cloud in a hybrid universe, the signal volume is growing. There's a lot more systems out there. There's a ton of SaaS systems. If you carried a pager, you know this better than I do, right? Like, this is just our world. It's not getting easier, but this is really, really important. Context does not live in one system. If there's a problem, it might exist in your ticketing system, but it probably also exists in Slack or Teams because somebody's talking about it. You might have an SOP or a run book somewhere. You probably have old tickets, right? There's a huge amount of context spread across your environment that could be useful in the resolution of that ticket. The other thing is that who's who in your business is very important. Who took the last escalation? Who needs to take this escalation? Who's an expert in this? Where did this person come from in their career? There's just so much information that isn't captured in tickets, isn't captured in a database, that you need to reconcile. So first you have to synthesize all that data together, and you have to analyze it. And that is where AI can help. And this is how Glean is working together with PagerDuty. So with PagerDuty and Glean, we can get the context you need in PagerDuty or in Glean so that you can resolve tickets faster and you can get better uptime. So what does that mean? That means if you're in PagerDuty and you use Glean, we can give you the context that PagerDuty doesn't have access to natively, right where you're working, in the sidebar, in a browser, wherever you are operating. We can say, look at this ticket, look across the entire corpus of structured and unstructured data in all of the SaaS tools you have, and bring back to me the relevant information I need to resolve this. If you're new and you're a new support person, for example, how do you know which SOP or runbook? You can ask. You can say, I have a ticket, it looks like this. Glean, tell me what runbook to use, and it will. If you're trying to build a new runbook, you can say, Glean, look at these tickets and write a new one based on what we did to resolve these. So Glean is really smart about looking across all sorts of places where that information exists and bringing it together. We can surface root cause very, very well. And I worked in this space for a while. One of the things that I have done in my past is done a test of root cause analysis with LLMs. And we fed a whole bunch of log data into an LLM and asked it to find root cause. And because we were just dumping logs into the big LLMs, and in this case it was GPT, it responded with a root cause that was correct about 65% of the time, which is not bad. A frontline response person is typically off the cuff about that good, right? But if you collate and correlate a bunch of data together before you feed the LLM, by adding in the additional context, we're able to get to a root cause about 98% of the time. So context matters when you're trying to find root cause. That is time-based correlation in other system failures, previous conversations, topics that you've discussed in engineering. This might be a failure if X happened. Where do those conversations take place? Confluence, Slack. It's hard to find that stuff. And so part of this searching and enterprise context capability means that you can solve these problems faster and better. Generating timelines, generating documentation, this is a thing that we don't all get to nearly as much as we want to, and we all should in the IT ops space. And so automating that so that it then becomes part of your corpus so that you can repeat those things as necessary. And there's a really interesting component here too that LLMs bring to this space, which is what we really want to do is fix whatever that problem was so it never ever happens again, right? And so an LLM can only find root cause, but could suggest the code you need in order to resolve it so that it's fixed, or who checked in the code that broke it. And so this is really important too, and this is part of the data that we can extract from PagerDuty into Glean. The same way Glean can extract our context into PagerDuty, we can pull who's on call, who's a subject matter expert into Glean so that somebody who's asking in Slack how do I solve this? It can say, hey, here's the way it was solved last time, here's this SOP, and here's the person you escalate it to if it doesn't work. And so this is very, very powerful just to bring down MTTR and make sure you're getting first call resolution. Very, very powerful way to utilize these two tools together. And we sync with the PagerDuty APIs so we can get all your escalation policies and your schedules and your teams into one place so that it's all unified. So what does that result in? All the good things, right, as you would expect. We're not going to say it results in bad things, but really, I think what we've been trying to do is operate incident response, support, IT operations at increased scale. That's the fundamental problem. And we're operating in a machine scale world with human beings. And so the right thing to do is to use the machines to tame the machine scale so that human beings can do what they do best. And that is to gather all the information that's spread across all of the places in your company, put it in one place, collate it, analyze it, and help those people resolve quicker, faster, and better. And then ultimately code away that problem so it never occurs again. So, I would love to talk with you in extensive detail about this and other things if you're so inclined. I will be here for a little bit afterwards. After that, I'm going to go right over there, and I can do it there. If you want to see some demos of this sort of thing in action, we can do it over there as well. But also hang out here in this booth and talk to the PagerDuty people about how they're working on incident response as well. I think that would be very informative. And Lena would like to point out that there's a little thing here for you, which allows you to go to the booth and get an exclusive merchandise item. So go over there and get, what are we giving them, Lena? It's a surprise to me and you. So if you take this, come on over, we'll give you something. Socks or better, I think is where we're gonna go here. All right, thank you very much for listening, I appreciate it. And I'll be here to take a few questions afterwards if you're so inclined.